Greetings sailors and welcome back to Warships and the new PvE mode. This is the Newport operation, which is the first one that's been made available. There's 4 in total, of course, but they're all time gated, so they will unlock in weekly increments, I think it is. And obviously if the mode is popular, then there might be new operations released in future. And well, this one's actually reasonably tricky. The easiest one overall is the one where you're attacking an AI controlled base. You basically are doing the inverse of this one, where you're defending a friendly base. And the trickiest one is the carrier escort mission, and then there's a 4th one that I didn't actually get to play on the test server, so I'm not sure what that one's like. But this one's reasonably straightforward, so long as everybody's doing roughly the right things and you've got a good team composition. Now in this case we've only got 1 battleship, and it's a Warspite, which is not super ideal just because the Warspite isn't the toughest ship. Of the battleships, I would say probably the New Mexico is the best, and you shouldn't really be expecting to do a lot of damage in the battleships. They are there more to take attention from the cruisers and from the other enemy ships as well. So something like the Warspite, which burns very easily, which can take a lot of damage, although, you know, it can heal, it's not great. And I think the main reason it's not great is actually it doesn't have particularly good anti-air capabilities, whereas the New Mexico does. And the fact that the New Mexico is a slower ship doesn't really matter in this context. You're not having to travel huge distances. You don't need a huge range. The Fuso is also okay, but again, weaker AA, and it does have a bit of a shotgun effect, but you know, you can do a reasonable amount of damage. As far as the cruisers go, the Cleveland is obviously the top choice. We've got 2 of those. It's got obviously a very good AA capability, and it's got a very good damage output overall. You can do a lot of damage with it, and also you can get a lot of damage through fires, and it really is cruisers that are the main damage dealers. The battleships are there as the tanks essentially, and then you've got your cruisers as the damage dealers, and the destroyers, they're not so useful. If you've got a carrier as well, and really a Ryujo is the most useful carrier overall, they can also be good damage dealers if they are being smart about the targets that they pick. But as far as I know, there's no way to replenish your planes, so they do tend to get deplaned towards the end. But yeah, cruisers are kind of like the mainstay of this mode. So the Cleveland's good. Anything with smoke is good. I mean, the Leander is actually pretty decent, but you don't have HE. That's a pretty important component that's missing. You can still do damage with the Leander, but the inability to set fires definitely will hinder you. The Perth actually is very good for this mode, so long as you take the spotter plane. In fact, no, not the spotter plane, the catapult fighter, because the AA on the Perth isn't very good at all. You rather do need that catapult fighter, and although it doesn't have a great range, again, the range doesn't matter so much in this one because the enemies are all coming towards you. So although this is going to be a pretty good result in this game, in the Molotov, the Perth is actually the ship I've had the highest, by far the highest amount of damage done in on EU. And that's because you've got smoke, you've got HE, you've got the torpedoes, you've also got hydro, which is very, very useful at times, and you can put out a catapult fighter, which is also very, very useful at times. And if you've got the smoke mod on the Perth especially, well, that gives you that extra, almost like, I think it's almost 2 minutes in total you can get if you've got the smoke mod. So the Perth is very, very powerful. The best result I had was almost 200,000 damage done, which was a bit ridiculous. This isn't going to be quite that good, but it's still going to be pretty good. Now the Molotov, you know, it's got those really good guns, and if you can get the enemies not to shoot you, then it's fine. And I'm actually going to have a pretty good mix between AP and HE in this particular game. And it's also got those short-range torpedoes to make use of, which can actually do a bit of damage. But the AI is not bad at dodging the torps overall. And just because the Molotov itself isn't that good at maneuvering and dodging, it just more relies on you not getting targeted. So I would say if you're feeling confident, the Molotov might be a good choice. But it's also very, very easy to screw up in the Molotov. In fact, I kind of do screw up myself at one point. So this Kaiser's going down. This is the 2nd wave done already. which is quite nice. So that means the oh, well, not quite down yet, but it will be in a second. That means the third wave is going to spawn, and we can then start pulling back and dealing with them. Now, it's probably not the best plan to have all pushed out this far to begin with. This was something like the very second go at this that I had, and I tried it with various ships on the NA server, but one of the reasons why I picked out the Molotov is I have only a couple of tier 5s and tier 6s on NA. I've also tried it with the Budioni, which is another reasonably good choice, but that's more in the Cleveland style, just the HE spam, and you don't have the AA power that the Cleveland has. So that was alright. I've got one of the, in fact, two of the ARP Congos, and I had an okay-ish game, but the Congo's not a particularly tough ship, so that's not maybe the best choice overall. And what else have I tried on EU? I'm trying to think. I'm not sure what else. I might have tried the Fuso on EU. I don't think I had a particularly good result that game, but the battleships, it's not so much about doing the damage, as I've said, it's about tanking the damage. If you see someone in something like a Dunkirk, it's not that useful, I would say. So that wave is that they've spawned on the north. I've had to pop my spotter to actually get the range for these guys. I'm heading back to try and get a little bit of healing myself. And if I had a particular criticism of this particular operation, I would say it's very, very hard for cruisers in particular to get back to heal. In fact, probably for battleships even more so, but battleships of course have their own heal to work with. Most of the cruisers don't. It's just the Leander and the Graf Spee, and the Graf Spee would be a pretty bad choice for the operations, to be quite honest. You just would not have the damage output, and you don't really have the tankability either. So yeah, I'm trying to get back, but I'm going to have to go all the way to the corner of the map, and with the way the healing works, it's a fixed amount, unlike when you take damage from, say, fire or flooding, where it's percentage based. The healing is actually 50 per second from each of the auras. So if you're in the middle of both, if you've got both auras healing you from the two Liberty ships at once, you can get 100 health per second. And obviously for a destroyer, that's fine, you'll heal relatively quickly, but for a cruiser, and especially for a battleship, you could be sat there for a very long time. And so I think actually that should be percentage based as well, even if they left it in the same position. And honestly, it might be nicer if there was some way of getting a heal in a slightly more forward position. You know, that would be maybe a bit easier overall, but just changing that so that you can heal a bit quicker, because for most of the ships, most of the cruisers anyway, and certainly all the destroyers, there's no other way to get health back in this mode. And it's worth getting health back, it's worth surviving, because once you're dead, you're dead. There's no respawns or anything like that. So we were doing a reasonably good job focusing ships down, as you can see. I've had plenty of playthroughs of this where the final wave either triggered early, and therefore we didn't get the bot carrier spawning for our side, or else the AI ships got a lot closer to that base boundary before we actually managed to kill them. So this group was putting out the damage relatively well overall, I thought, and playing not bad. You know, I'm not going to say everybody was playing great, but I've certainly been in with much worse groups of players, and especially considering this was the day the patch came out on NA. This was only the second time I'd played this, and for a lot of people playing it, it might have been only their first, second, whatever time playing it as well. Yeah, everyone was reasonably okay in this one. So we've destroyed the third wave in advance of the main attack, which again is actually a pretty rare thing. Quite a lot of the time there have been third wave ships still on the map at the point where the final wave actually spawns, but in this case no, we did actually manage to get that little bit of grace period, so that's one of the secondary conditions met. So, because we have been able to keep all of the prior waves from getting into the inner base perimeter, that means that we get the bot Lexington spawning. I want to say Romeo, but it's obviously Romeo. Why do I want to say Romeo? Anyway, I don't know. So yeah, Romeo over there spawns, and immediately behind it, whichever side it spawns on, you get a 155mm Mogami with a very nasty rate of fire and a Hipper. Now, on EU, I've actually completed this mission with all 5 stars, and it was a game where I actually died relatively early on. I died at the point where the Lexington spawned, and I was the closest, so I went over towards the 2 cruisers that were pursuing it. They started to focus me when I got closer, and I ended up dying to them. So I had relatively little impact in terms of the damage done and the kills, at least compared to some of the other rounds I've played. But because I had basically saved the carrier, which is one of the secondary conditions, that means the rest of the team was able to go on, meet all of the rest of the secondary conditions, and thus we got the 5 stars. So that was a game where I didn't even honestly do that much overall, but I still helped us get 5 stars. And I've had plenty of games where I've done a lot more, but we've gotten, you know, 0, 1, 2 stars, and we've just met far fewer of the secondary conditions. So I didn't get a full heal, I got a bit of health back, and this is the, you know, where having a percentage based heal would be a lot better than that fixed 50 per second, because I've even tried a couple of battleship games where if you're fast enough to get back it's fine, but then of course battleships have so much health that, yeah, good luck actually getting back any significant amount of hit points. Anyway, so if we can take out this Hipper, that'll be quite good. We're now 3 ships down ourselves. Destroyers, I've tried the, was it the Kamikaze? Again on NA on the day it came out, because I got that ship, that was gifted to me. Destroyers are actually really quite hard to play, because you just, either with the Japanese destroyers you rely on your torpedoes, which the AI ships are actually quite effective at dodging. Talking of torpedoes, that's some incoming torps right now. Pay attention to those, Jedi. Jedi? What are you doing, Jedi? Jedi? Oh dear, yes, you can tell what's going to happen next, can't you? Yeah. Oops. Anyway, so, yeah, or else you can play a gunboat destroyer and be spotted far more often. And bear in mind, you know, there are going to be bot planes flying around as well, especially if you don't have a carrier of your own to try and tackle them. Yeah, it can be a very short-lived experience, because the cruisers in particular will focus you and focus you hard if they see you. And so even getting close enough to make the torp drops can be quite difficult. And the AI is actually surprisingly effective at using their own torpedoes, and unlike human players, I mean, me running into that torp was just, you know, that was me not paying attention, but I've been torped other times by the AI, and it's been down to not being able to predict when they make the drop, because with a human player you can observe their behaviour, you can actually make some educated guesses as to when they'll make the drop, but I haven't figured out the behaviour, the logic for the AI making torpedo drops, and so I've quite frequently been caught unawares by torpedo drops from the AI, just because I did not predict it was going to happen, because it doesn't fit in my usual experience of dodging torpedoes from other players. So that's my one and only Citadel I'm going to get in this game, by the way, against a Gneiser now. That makes sense, right? These guns are so silly on the Molotov, though. I mean, this is one of the strengths of the Molotov in this mode, is that the guns are very, very good if you're not targeted, but if you are targeted, it can be quite hard to dodge. And in a more manoeuvrable cruiser, I might have actually not eaten that torpedo, even though I could still easily have dodged it in the Molotov. It wouldn't have been that difficult. So there's a spread of torps from the Gneiser now, and just not expected. I was not thinking they'd be coming in my direction, but they were. As a human player, probably wouldn't have made that drop, and they certainly wouldn't have made a widespread drop. But yeah, so there's a logic there clearly behind the behind the torque drops, but I've yet to figure out exactly what it is. So I'm just continuing to pummel away here, over 100,000 damage done at this point, and if I can get some nice juicy AP salvos into the armour of that Izumo. I mean, you might think that these guns against the Izumo firing AP would be a bit of a waste of time, but not really. I mean, bear in mind that these 7-inch guns are effectively the Dmitry Donskoy guns. So if you get the fires burning and you've got a broadside, then at that point you might as well switch to the AP. And if you're going for the upper belt armour especially, you can do very, very well. So that's the last remaining ally, the Fubuki. And he's about to go down, unfortunately. So now it's just me. However, our bot Lexington has survived. So he's been giving air support all the while. And the 2 remaining battleships are also looking rather unhealthy. And we do still have some forts that are alive and firing as well. So there's a fire going on the Gneiser now. I'm going to push round and maybe get some HE onto the rear of the Izumo. But as you might have noted from the mini-map, the final wave has spawned. The bonus wave? I don't know what to call it. But yeah, you basically at the very end get some more tier 4s spawning. And it's one of those that's got me targeted right now. In fact, there's several of them that have me targeted. So the Gneiser now is very low health. He's actually going to burn to death. I don't even need to put out this salvo, to be honest. That was a bit of a waste. I did also get multiple fires going on the Izumo. The bots basically extinguish the first fires. So if you can get a fire going and then torpedo them, they will flood. But yeah, even with multiple fires in the Izumo, he's going to be alive a little bit longer. But I've lived long enough that the rest of the reinforcements have actually shown up. And now it's just me having to deal with this Yubari. And if I hadn't taken that torpedo, I'd be alright right now. I mean, Yubari's got a decent rate of fire and the shells are very accurate. And it actually managed to kill me. I survived the tier 7 battleship and the tier 9 battleship. Now it's Yubari that kills me. And it's really all down to me because I took that torp in the side. But the fires that were burning on the Izumo, well, that's killed him, and it is just now these 2 tier 4s left for the bots to deal with. And even though I died, even though I'm the last player alive, because I survived to the 3-minute mark when the rest of the AI fleet actually spawned, it doesn't matter that everybody's dead. We've still won. And we've gotten all but one of the secondary conditions. So we've actually won this. And it was only the second attempt at doing it. So yeah, that was a nice little, like, even if everybody dies, as long as you die after the 3-minute mark, or in the final 3 minutes, it doesn't matter, you can still win. So nearly 167,000 damage done, 796 XP, which is actually decent for this mode. The Warspite actually came next on that team. The best I've been able to manage is, I think, it was not far off 1100 XP. And that was that almost 200,000 damage game, and I think that was just because I did so much damage in the Perth. But this is not a particularly profitable mode, and it's not particularly a great mode for getting lots of XP. So even if you do really, really well damage-wise, don't expect to be grinding huge amounts of rewards. It's more for the actual secondary condition rewards that you'll want to do PvE. But even if you've already done all of them, you know, it's still kind of relaxing to go and play, although I say that sometimes one's teammates can be just infuriating and just go off and do completely stupid things anyway. But yeah, overall I'm fairly positive about the implementation of this PvE mode, and it is pleasantly challenging. I would like that one tweak to how the health replenishment works on this particular map, and maybe there's 1 or 2 other tweaks that will suggest themselves for the other different operations as they come along. But overall, I think this is a nice addition to the game, and I would like to see more stuff like this in future. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.